and welcome to Real Person Reviews. My name is Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64. Alright, so you might be a little surprised that this isn't a game I've played a bunch of times. I've actually played through it only once now. Even though I am a huge fan of the Nintendo 64 and a fan of Mario games, I really haven't played this. And I really only got it a couple months ago. And I have to say that I'm kind of sorry I didn't get it sooner, because it's actually really fun. It basically is an RPG, but it has some cool little action elements in it that make it a little more enjoyable than most RPGs. But let's just start with the story quick and try to get that out of the way. It's pretty simple plot, is that Bowser has stolen the Star Rod, which allows him to grant his own wishes, and it basically makes him invincible. He then basically uses his castle to airlift Peach's castle off of the land up into space, and that's how he kidnaps Princess Peach. So it's up to Mario, of course, to go and save her, as is the case in most games. So along the way, you'll find a lot of friends that will help you along the way, different allies, and there's a lot of different side things that you can do as well, and everything, kind of making you stronger and getting you on the path. Because in order to even get to where Bowser is, you need to find these legendary stars and rescue them to use their power in order to make you stronger and allow you to be transported up to where those castles are. So that's basically the plot. Now it's an RPG, so there is encountering enemies and battling, leveling up. He's using items. There's different towns and places to go to, so you can talk to different characters. But it's all done in a very interesting way. And the way it's done is to kind of make it so that you're never really going to be too bored with it. It's never going to be, really grindy, and it's never really, repetitive. They try to add in new things and introduce new things as the game goes on to keep it from getting stale. I think that's really cool. One of the cool things they work with right away is, when they start off, it's pretty basic, like you can attack enemies, and, you have, very basic, only a couple of attacks. You can jump on them or hit them with your hammer. And some enemies are, flying, so you have to jump on them, because your hammer can't hit an enemy that's in the air. And there are some enemies that, have spikes on them, so you have to hit them with a hammer, because if you try to jump on them, it's going to hurt you. There's little stuff like that thrown in there, which makes it interesting and makes it so you have to kind of pay attention to what enemies you're fighting and where they are. You can't hit someone with a hammer that's behind other enemies, but you can jump behind enemies, over enemies to hit different ones. There's lots of cool little ins and outs like that. Another cool thing they do with this combat is when you're selecting your moves and stuff, whether it's a normal attack or a special attack, which uses up your flower points, which are basically just, like magic points. It uses up those, and basically, the thing that's interesting is that with pretty much every single attack, there is some kind of command you have to put in that's about timing or speed or something like that. Like some attacks you might do them and you gotta hold left on the stick until it hits a certain spot on this meter, and then you have to let go, and then it does your attack. It does damage based on how well you do that. Or maybe you have to tap A bunch of times or hold it. Hit a sequence of buttons. There's all kinds of different stuff that you do to do your attacks, and that kind of helps, it depends. The effectiveness depends on how well you do these actions. And that's cool, because it keeps you involved. It's like, you're not just like, I'm just going to pick my strongest attack, hit a, and then hit the button and then watch it happen. You're actually involved in every step of it. So even if it's a really good attack, maybe it's an attack that's going to be the best thing to use in this situation, because a lot of it is situational. But just because it's the best to use in this situation, how easy is it to pull off? Do you want to risk doing a really tricky one that you're not very good at pulling off and have it maybe fail, or do one that you can pull off a lot easier, even if it's not going to do as much damage if you can pull it off successfully. So it makes you kind of consider things and be really involved in the combat and every step of it, rather than, pushing buttons, and forgetting, just hitting A through the entire thing. It's, it's more complex than that. And they introduce some other elements in there too. You can use special abilities, use up your flower points. You have HP, which is your health. There are badge points you have, which determine what badges you can wear. Wearing different badges, which you will find throughout the game, will give you different perks. Some will give you new abilities, some will give you stat boosts, and some will just give you these nice little passive boosts to things. So it's really cool to have those, and maybe having those means you can switch them around to fit the different scenarios. There is a little bit of use of elemental powers here, there's some fire and ice and electricity. There's a few, but they aren't really used that much. It's just certain enemies it's good for, fighting certain ones or defending against certain ones. It's not really a big thing that's integrated super well into it, so it's kind of just a little touch, more so than an actual, mechanic to use that. Which I think was actually kind of nice, since almost every RPG focuses on that. So it's kind of cool to try and find out, what is going to work and what's good against what for enemies. And when you level up, if you level up, you can upgrade either your badge points to allow you to put on more badges at a time, because different badges take up different amounts of badge points to use, depending on how good they are. You can upgrade your HP, which is your health, obviously, and then your FP, your flower points, which is your magic. Then there's also this other thing that's kind of like magic also. It's called focus, or maybe it was called something else. Anyway, it's a power that you get as you find and save more stars, which basically you get after beating major bosses, the major areas. You'll get a new star and a new power that they allow you to use. And this has a meter that fills up as you go through battles, and you can do a move that will help you fill up the meter faster, but it uses up your turn. And it's it's kind of an interesting little mechanic, so that you always have some kind of ability you can use through those as time goes on through the battles. So even if you run out of magic, you're never totally screwed or anything. And I think it's a really interesting kind of mechanic to keep working these things in and trying to go between your own items for attacking and healing and buffs and all that, your special abilities for doing that for you and your ally, and then the focus abilities that you can continually get. Trying to think of, okay, what do I want to use now? Is it worth it to use this now? And do I want to do this or that? Do I want to use the move to try and charge up my focus abilities and lose my turn? Or do I want to just let it fill up naturally and keep the battle going? Lots of stuff to consider, but it's never super complicated or confusing to do. It's just a lot of what do you want to do, and it makes you think about it. And I think that's really nice that it's simple, yet it's deep in that idea. And, your different allies, you can switch them out in between, during the battle or between battles. The little these allies that you find, will follow you. And they generally can't use the focus powers unless you... I think it might be a badge to let them use one of them. But it's you can switch up who goes first, Mario or your ally, during any turn. So there's more, battle plans going on there, and it's all really interesting. And like I said, it's interesting in that it's simple yet deep to keep you invested and keeping new things coming along. They introduce these things to look your attacks and then your allies' attacks, being able to switch things up. They introduce the focus powers, slowly put that into there, and using items. And then they introduce this idea, because you walk around on an overworld to do things, and going around on the overworld, you can use your allies also have special abilities there to help you, overcome certain obstacles. So some stuff you find early on you can't really interact with, but you find an ally that has an ability later that you can come back and interact with it now. And so it's a lot of cool backtracking stuff you can do that actually gives you stuff. It's really cool because there's a lot of different places to go and people to talk to. There's a lot of side quest stuff that you can do along the way, And it seems like after every major event that you accomplish, you can go back and like talk to people in the towns, and they're always saying new things pretty much when you go to them, unless there's someone that has to tell you a certain thing when you go there. So that's it's really cool to have that nice little like layer of like world building where it's like I'm talking to these people and they're talking about recent events that have happened with this character that I just defeated or that I have to fight next. And you can kind of see them like as their lives progress. They say different things as time goes by, and that's really cool if you want to go around and like try to look for secrets and stuff and then talk to these people. So it's not just like I'm backtracking and hearing the same stuff over and over again just to hear, just to get the stuff. Like I actually can listen to these people and have the world built a little more, and it gives me more of a reason to kind of some incentive to backtrack and go and talk to these people. That being said, I probably would have hated this as a kid because of all the talking stuff, and it would have been a lot more boring because I really wasn't that into listening to what everyone had to say. And I think I also have to bring up how I think this has really cool, the art style and everything is really nice. I really like the music in it. It's very catchy and Mario-esque, and I like that. But I thought the art style was just lovely. It was very colorful, and a lot of cool different little sets to go to and places. And I liked the art that they used for the characters. And you notice it's called Paper Mario. So everything is the aesthetic of paper. The idea is that you've been basically being told a story, I guess. So that's why everything is kind of made out of paper. It's never really addressed during the game that they are paper, but certain animations and things that happen to show you that yes, they clearly are made out of just they're two-dimensional, made out of paper. Some of the sets look like they're kind of little pop-up book sets or storyboard and like cardboard stage stuff. Which is kind of interesting that each battle you go to, the background is about your set location. It forms around that, and it's really also cool is how they don't which I didn't mention before, but the battles that you get into, they're not necessarily random battles. There are set places where enemies will spawn, and you can you fight them, and it's when you come back, those enemies will be in those same areas. If you've left the area and you come back, they'll respawn in those same spots. So it's not random. It's not like you're just going to be walking in an empty area and all of a sudden, oh no, a thing crept up on me. The enemies actually have to come up and touch you and attack you. And either if it's they attack you first, you attack them first, or you happen to collide when nobody really makes an attack, then the battle goes. So you can get a first strike in or get attacked first in a battle, depending on how that plays out. And it's cool so that you can see what you're fighting. It's not it's an empty room that has, potentially infinite amount of enemies in it. And I think that's a really, nice idea, which other games have done as well, but this is probably the first one I think I've played that really did that kind of thing. At least for, being all the enemies. It's the characterization and the side quests and stuff, I really liked. And they were super charming. This is probably one of the most charming games I've played in quite a long time, and while the visuals are very Nintendo 64 at times with the things they do choose to put into 3D, it's nice that they have a lot of 2D stuff, because it wasn't the most realistic looking thing, it wasn't the most impressive visualization, the visual tool, I guess. A lot of the visuals in Nintendo 64 games, a lot of people look at them now and say, ew. I think a lot of them work really well in this game, and I think part of it is because they understood, what needed to look kind of cheap and cheesy and what didn't, and it came together in a really nice package that doesn't age too terribly. That, plus, all the characters have nice little characterization to them, and it was always interesting to kind of, go find new areas and talk to people and try to do quests and this and that, and there's a whole bunch of stuff for you to do in the game as well. Which, as far as I could tell, I've done basically 100% run of it. So, I wanted to get the most out of it. I had to look a couple things up to get that 100%, but that was pretty much after I'd done most of the main stuff. So I didn't have to look up too much. So it's not overwhelming, is what I'll say. You also aren't really missing out on much. There's not really a completion percentage on it. You don't have to worry about it. and it's not one you really need to 100% because you don't get much of anything for it. You get a few things for going for certain side quests and stuff, but other things aren't necessarily worth your trouble and your time. Also, leveling up I thought was cool in that aspect is like a lot of games, like I said before, it's not very grindy. A lot of games will have it where, okay, I'm weak, I want to get good at this next part, and instead of changing out my strategy, I will just grind and get stronger, and that'll be how that's how I go about it. That's how you decide to say, okay, I'm just gonna grind and get really strong, and then I'll be able to beat them because I'm stronger, not necessarily because I'm a better player now or smarter. It's just because I went grinding. And in here, you can kind of grind in some spots, but most of the time, you can't really grind. You also don't have a super high level cap anyways, so once you hit the level cap and you're done getting all your stuff up, it's about, rearranging your badges, it's about picking the right, getting the right items to work with you, getting the right ally and the right times, using the strategies, the moves. Like you have to strategize more than just power through them. Even though I was kind of stupid and kind of powered through a lot of them with the way I set it up, it wasn't like there wasn't any kind of strategy to it. There was some thought put into my badges and my sequence of moves and what I was trying to do. So I won't attribute it just to being a high level and being really strong, but a lot because I thought about it. And it's really cool, and I don't know, I feel like everything kind of comes together, an idea that, like, because you keep getting introduced to new things, because there's so much world being built there, the cool and pretty visuals, the nice music happening, the length of the game is very good, the interesting kind of upgrades you get for, your flower points, your badge points, your HP, and being able to pick which one you want to upgrade each time you level up. Leveling up consisting of getting 100 star points, which are basically like experience. Getting 100 star points, which enemies start giving you less and less as you level up more, having to find stronger enemies to get those points then, because certain times it won't give you any, just get like coins from them. That kind of was really interesting, and like just everything about this game was nice, it was fun, it stayed very fresh and entertaining, it was enjoyable, and it was charming, and it was an absolute delight. And I guess I will have to say that there are a couple bad things about it. If you're more into RPGs, I guess, that are more traditional in the sense, again, you're going to be probably annoyed that you can't level grind. That's not something that is in this game because there is such a, the lower level cap like there is. I only had to grind for a few levels when I did it. And the one spot that I actually could grind, it wasn't I didn't necessarily need to do it either, because it doesn't like upgrade. It doesn't leveling up doesn't make you hit harder. It doesn't make you it doesn't raise your attack or your defense. It raises either your badge points, your flower points, or your HP. And so like leveling up isn't necessarily going to make you stronger. It's just going to give you more possibilities. I found flower points to be really annoying, and that they don't give you much to start with, and that they seem to run out rather frequently, and I didn't want to carry around a bunch of items to do that. Some of the side quests seemed a little tedious to do. Some of the side characters, a lot of the side characters aren't that fun to talk to, necessarily. If you don't particularly give a shit about that world and building those characters, you're not going to go around talking to people. There's like a thing you can do, and you can get letters throughout the game, which I thought would be kind of an interesting little like, oh, this is going to help me out at some point. And while some characters tell you some interesting stuff and tips that will help you, even like in these letters, a lot of these tell you things that are like, thanks for doing this thing that you did during the game. We're just sending you a letter to let you know that, say thanks and let you know that you did this thing. And they don't really give you anything or tell you anything all that important. So again, like if you don't care about those characters, which a lot of people won't, I certainly wouldn't have when I was a kid, then those will come off as being, kind of wasting your time and being like filler padding stuff that you won't care about. So I can see that being a downside. Again, and if you're more into traditional RPGs, you might care more about that. perhaps, but if you're a kid or if you're more into traditional RPGs, those things are probably gonna be off-putting. You also might not like the art and the music as much as I do because they're very Nintendo 64. And if you don't care for Nintendo 64 graphics or sound, you probably won't care about a lot of that in this game. You might think it's kind of ugly or sounds kind of shitty. I can totally understand that there are people who are stupid and don't like Nintendo 64. I'm kidding, I understand. Not everybody grew up with it. But it's, if you don't care for the Nintendo 64 style, again, you might not like this game that much. But I do think it's a decent length game. I think, and it kind of fills out really nicely. It has a lot of cool adventure, a lot of cool stuff you can do on the overworld, so it doesn't feel like just like going in everything. It doesn't feel like everything is about battles. It feels like there's a world out there, there's other things you're doing in this overworld stuff, and that when battles happen, because of all the... It's really cool they had the custom backgrounds for each different setting where you would fight enemies, even if it's in like the same area. Instead of giving you a generic, like, here's a background, like, it'll know, like, okay, you're fighting these enemies that are right here, and there are these couple set pieces in the background. So you can see these couple little set pieces in our little backdrop stage thing that we've done for these battles. It's cool like that. And I don't know, there's like lots of little touches, lots of cool like stuff to keep you playing, to keep you invested. Lots of changing things to keep you very interested and keep it from getting stale. And overall, I think it's a very charming experience. Paper Mario is really good. Now, you see here, I paid, it's a little less, I have a discount thing, and I did trade and stuff, but price on it was $40. Honestly, that's not too bad. I've heard a lot about this. The series in general, mostly about the GameCube version, or not version, the GameCube entry, which comes after this. But I thought this would be a good place to start in the Paper Mario series, because I have played Super Paper Mario, I didn't finish it. I kind of want to get it back and try it again. That's a lot different though. But I really like this, and I don't know. I would say this is a fair price. I would say for me, if you guys are not sure and are just kind of interested, if you're not necessarily into RPGs, maybe look for $20 or less. But if you're into Mario and you're into RPGs. And even some of the stuff seems to be kind of similar to the things they did in Super Mario RPG, so maybe consider $30, I think, is a fair price to consider. If you're really interested, if you're into Nintendo 64 and Mario and RPGs, especially simpler RPGs, then definitely this is worth the $40 to check out. Might not want to pay more than that, but it's up to you guys, whatever. It doesn't really matter what I say for that, does it? So, I don't know, who was your favorite ally in the game, if you've played it? I used the Spark guy a lot. Forgot what his name was, Sparkster? That doesn't sound right. I don't know, whatever the big electrical spark dude was, because he did true damage. I used him most of the time once I got him, because I didn't have to worry about defenses, and I usually didn't have to worry about spikes or anything. So he was really helpful. I also used that Zap Tap badge a lot. I don't know if you had a favorite badge, but I used the Zap Tap one. Got it early on and it helped me a lot. I don't know what else to really ask. I guess I would ask, what's your favorite Paper Mario game? I've played this all the way through. I played a very good chunk of Super Paper Mario, which I want to get to. I want to get it back at some point if I can find it for cheaps again, and see if I can finish that, because I'm probably more interested now. And I think you guys will be excited to hear that I did actually get Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door on GameCube, so I'll be doing that at some point. I have to play through it yet. I barely started it, and they just threw a million things at my face. And I should probably pick it up again before I forget how to do all of the combat stuff. But I'm going to pick that back up and try to see if that's as awesome as everyone says. So, look forward to a review of that someday. Might be a while. Also look forward to Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I'm very close to finishing that right now, so hopefully you guys like that. Anything you want me to review, I guess, let me know. And, leave it in the comments and stuff. All that stuff, just leave it in the comments. And subscribe, and like, or dislike, or unsubscribe. Whatever you guys do to things. And, I don't know, did anybody else find this game super charming? Because I did. I think I said that like 3 or 4 times, but it's true. And I think that word very accurately describes how I feel about this. But now I'm going to leave, because I don't know if you can tell, my throat feels kind of dry and weird. So, yeah. Bye!